everyone. Welcome to my stream. I'm Polish Agnes. Today, a little bit differently. Whoop. Okay, as usual, I have to have technical problems, so I apologize because my YouTube was running and I was trying to post some links, and now I'm good. So again, welcome to my stream. I'm Polish Agnes. Hopefully, you already know me, but if you're not, you should know that my podcasts are mostly about politics. But today we are a little bit off topic, and we are going to talk about something that I think it's extremely important in life, and I think it should be important to a lot of us. And so, hopefully, we can have a great conversation. My guest here, I met at the convention, and so that's how we actually get in touch and got in contact. And so I decided to invite her so she can talk a little bit about her program. And as you know by the title, today we are going to be talking about pro life. So we do a lot of us, and I'm one of the people that thinks that life starts at conception. So basically, I can say we are against the abortions, and we would love for all the life that it's been made that it gets held, if I should say, and then every woman carries, and no one ever decides that they wanted to get rid of any babies. I do have already some people that are connecting, so I see one person can't connect. I see Jaden, and I see, hold on, from studio. Okay, so I wanted to introduce you guys to Mariana. Hello, Mariana. How are ya? Oh, you're muted. Okay,
Oh,
there we go. You're good. And then I want to add Jaden, and then let's just talk about
sure.
everything. And Jaden, how are
Hi,
you?
doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I love your setup. You're so
Thank you.
professional. And then
Yeah.
I have one more person that is trying to connect, but I see it says device not connected. So we'll see if she can maybe try again. I'll text her. But I would like Mariana to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the program and why are we actually doing this podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. And yes, we met at the convention, and um, I appreciate what just meeting me, giving me the opportunity to be here. So I love your personality, and I thought this would be a great thing to do since it is so hard to get the word out in Connecticut for the pro life movement. So 40 Days for Life started in Texas. And that's where my mom is. That's where I was before coming to Connecticut. And it's basically a 40-day internationally coordinated campaign that aims to end abortion through prayer, fasting, peaceful vigils, community outreach. And we pray to end abortions, specifically outside of abortion. We don't call them clinics because clinics, when you hear the word clinic, you think of healthcare. So abortion facility or abortion center, that would be for us a better term for like Planned Parenthood. And I got started with them. If you want to hear a funny story, so when I was in high school, this started in Texas, and it started in 2004. And then what happened is it started going to other cities in Texas. It started in Bryan, Texas, and then people heard about it and they would start implement it in other towns. So I'm from San Antonio, and I have an aunt, and she's very pro-life, and she told my cousin, I have a cousin and we're the same, about the same age, that she wouldn't be able to go out, so we wouldn't be able to go out on a Saturday night until we went to pray. Like we had to do that first on Saturday if she was gonna let my cousin borrow the car to go out Saturday night. So the first time I volunteered with 40 Days for Life, I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it because my aunt told me to do it. And that's what we call planting a seed. Sometimes we ask people to come for an hour, even if you're not sure. Pro life can be like a big thing, complex. You don't know, you're not sure. But even if you come and pray for 1 hour, like I'm that person. Many years later, now I'm a campaign leader here in New Haven. So fast track to now, I got involved here in Connecticut with 40 Days for Life because another organization, March for Life. Many people know March for Life because they do the annual March for Life in Washington, D.C. And I know Trump was the speaker there. He was the first president as a speaker there. And J.D. Vance has been a speaker there. So they have, they got big. They've been getting big for since they started in the 70s. Well, so when Roe v. Wade got overturned, the organization March for Life started branching and doing state marches because we knew that the fight was going to have to go to state level. Now that they had taken away the Supreme Court decision of Roe v. Wade, it got overruled. Then every state, basically, what happened is after 2022 is every state is deciding what they want to do in abortion in their state. So I got involved here locally. Connecticut was one of the first 5 states that did a collaboration with March for Life, and they did like a state march. And from the state march, a lot of people just got activated. We need to do more. We need to do more in our parish, our town, wherever we are. And so I started getting involved with first parish rosary walk for life, and then eventually the 40 Days for Life campaign leader who was leading it in 2022 transitioned it to me. So I've been leading it since spring of 2023. So every spring and fall, I coordinate a 40-day prayer vigil outside of Planned Parenthood in New Haven. Oh,
So you're
it came.
muted.
I'm sorry, I was texting Mary. I think Mary might be someone who you know, Mariana, because she was trying to connect. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to say maybe she could use the computer, because sometimes on Android, for some reason, it does not always want to connect your microphone. And you at least need the microphone to be able to speak with us.
Got it.
But I wanted to mention something, is that I believe it's so important to pray, and that's why I just want to, even though I'm not really part of the entire topic of, pray to end abortion today, but I just want to say I'm a Christian and I pray for the end of abortion. And I'm so glad that, Roe v. Wade got overturned, because Christians have been praying for that for so long. And that was huge. And obviously still it's kind of constricted with state by state, but we really have been seeing a lot of progress happen, and prayer is where it's coming from. So just kudos to you. Praise the Lord, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's awesome. And so you told me on the phone that you're trying to also organize and have people involved to be able to pray not only in front New Haven, Planned Parenthood facility, you can call it, I guess. But, the goal is to do more of these vigils, and the goal is to go and do that in front of all of them, perhaps in Connecticut, right?
Yeah, so abortion happens all year long, not just, so we need to pray and be active, not only when there's a 40 Days for Life campaign, but all year long. So right now I'm off season. So what I like to do in off season, there's other organizations out there that we can do pro-life work. So there's Sidewalk Advocates for Life. They can try to talk to the women and give them options so they don't do abortions. There's pregnancy centers. So part of my roles as a campaign leader is to put together a list of Connecticut pregnancy centers for women. So in my off season, I like to touch base with the local pregnancy centers, see how they're doing. Do they need volunteer hours? Do they need something? So this list that I created is 4 pages long, but you can access it on the website, www.40daysforlife.com/New Haven. So there's the the homepage 40daysforlife.com, and then every campaign has their own location website. And in my location website, I have local resources there that people can download, print the PDF, link to local websites. So I would say right now the website, I think it might be still on, so you guys can still access the website for 40daysforlife.com/New Haven and download this and print this. I always say, give it to your priest, your pastor, like sometimes, especially Catholic priests, when they're doing confession, if somebody were to come and if they have going to confess abortion, then the priest would be good for them to know where where they can refer them for more resources. There's also not only pregnancy centers, but like post-abortion counseling, healing. There's also there's right now a lot of crisis with sex trafficking, of course. There's a big one right now because of all the children that crossed and we don't know where they are. And on top of, there was always crime, but now there's just more of it. And then I also list when there's like free ultrasound, whether through a pregnancy center or there's bands that do that. So there's a lot of other like the domestic violence hotline, the abortion pill reversal number. That's another thing we can talk about, the abortion pill reversal. So yeah, I would say this would be like a great start. And that's why I like 40 Days for Life, because and I was explaining this to Agnes when we were on the phone the other day. I feel 40 Days for Life for somebody who doesn't know anything and like it's too much, like where do I start? Start with 40 Days for Life, because through 40 Days for Life, we're the gateway. Like I don't do so many things, but I know where to refer you to those things. So many volunteers, they start praying 1 hour and then they grow to do weekly commitments, like praying weekly. And then sometimes I've heard stories from 40 Days for Life where maybe you were praying and then you became a campaign leader. You figured out that there's not that many resources in your town or your city. And then some of the campaign leaders ended up becoming pregnancy center directors because they were like, wait, there's nothing in my town. I guess so I'll do it. I'll open it. So there's many things that, I would say fruits of 40 Days for Life that just every campaign brings is different. Some people have met on the sidewalk and they got married. So like a lot of, I would say for sure, a lot of healing. Something that's very common with 40 Days for Life is you're praying, and then people just stop and they want to tell you their story. Like I've had women stop and say like, I want to say thank you because my mother was pressured by her family to abort and she didn't. And I was on my way home and I'm just seeing you doing this. I appreciate it because, if my family would have convinced my mother, I wouldn't be here. Or of course, there's also abortion workers. So one of the ones that impacted me the most story, there was a nurse that used to be a nurse at New Haven Hospital in the 70s. And she said back then they had the abortion in the same floor as the delivery, OBGYN. So when the mothers would find out that there was women crying down the hall and they're happy because they're just having their baby, and then down the hall is a woman in a crisis situation, and it was kind of just it's hard, you're at your happiest, but then you're next to somebody who's it was weird. So they moved the abortion that she told me to another floor to separate them because they didn't want. And they told the staff, if you're going to go to the abortion floor, we're going to separate, and you're not going to be able to switch departments, like pick which one you want because we're dividing it. She was young, a young nurse, and she went to the abortion floor, and she said part of her job was putting like the baby parts together to make sure that when they got all the baby parts. And this lady was like in her 60s, almost 70s. She said sometimes till this day, she sometimes wakes up screaming from night terrors. Like she's still traumatized by having nightmares from that. And she said she only lasted in that job for like less than 2 years. She only, like after 2 years, she's like, I need to switch careers. This is too much. She said that like the doctors would change the information on the documentation. So if the woman was pregnant, very far along, they would, change the numbers so she could have the abortion. And so the nurse was having to put together big babies sometimes. So it was that job traumatized her. Oh, and then so much that she didn't want to have babies after that. And then her husband divorced her because she just they married in their 20s. I mean, not to say this, I'm not saying her name, but later in her 30s, he just I want to have a family, and she was so disgusted, and it traumatized her, and she's like, I don't want a baby. I don't, she never, there's people, we always of course pray for the mothers, the babies, but there's also workers that we pray for for 40 Days for Life. And I can share some numbers. So the 3 numbers that we keep track of with 40 Days for Life are baby saved, abortion workers quitting, and abortion centers closing. So as of now, if you go to the homepage, and I just did before coming on here, 40 Days for Life has tracked 26,545 lives saved. And these lives are reported by people like me, like official campaign leaders. And so there's a process that we go through for counting lives, reporting these. There are 277 abortion workers have quit. So none of them in New Haven, but Abby Johnson is one of the more famous, well-known abortion workers that quit. And she wrote a book, and then the book became a movie. And so this is one of the tools that I use for 40 Days for Life, because her book is called Unplanned. And it's a great movie. It's right now, it's on Amazon Prime. So if anybody who has an Amazon Prime account can watch it for free if you have the account. And yes, in the movie, it shows how she had a abortion by the surgical, abortion by the pill, and it also shows a 40 Days for Life campaign, like how prayer changes things and her conversion. So the focus in the movie is based on her point of view, so it's on the abortion worker, but I like to show this one because you get to see a little bit about what it is to be a 40 Days for Life volunteer. And so, yeah, there's a lot more. I can talk for hours and hours about 40. I love them so much. So people should also know I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid to do this. All the campaign leaders are volunteers, and this is a nonprofit organization, and it's run, and the headquarters is in Texas. So funny enough, well, I don't want to ruin it, but watch the movie, because the headquarters, you'll see what happens, how the headquarters ends up being what they are.
The movie we can find on Amazon Prime, correct?
Yeah, it's in there. It's in English. It's not in Spanish. I recently showed it for a Spanish speaking church, and I found out it's not in Spanish. So I had to show it with the DVD, because the DVD comes with French, Spanish, all this. So just for people to know, if they want to show it in their group or their church, it's good to go with the DVD, because you can also put the subtitles and all the features, extra features. So, but yeah, if people want to watch it from home, get some tissues, because I've watched it 10 times, and I cry every time.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
There is a question that I have coming from Twitch. So someone is asking if the panel see any correlation between the possibility of the 14th Amendment being repealed and abortion. If having a child here no longer guarantees protections, then the alternative might be chosen. So the 14th Amendment is about the birthright, to this citizenship in this country. But I don't necessarily feel that I would think about those things while being pregnant. I feel maybe some people do, and maybe right now when they're trying to take that away, you can't really drop an anchor baby, in United States. But I think that's not just a Connecticut problem or United States problem. I think it's overall whole entire world type of problem.
Mhm.
And um, I don't think you should really think in the categories what kind of a citizenship your child is going to have. I think your first thought should be, how can I, make my life possible and have the baby and give the baby the best life that, they deserve. But I also wanted to touch on another topic that
Mhm.
I think our system is so screwed up and it does not mandate, and I will say that, mandate the fathers, 50% of the time to have to be in the kid's life. Not like, oh my God, I gotta fight for custody, yada, yada, yada. If you're splitting or you're the father, your understanding should be that you're 50% involved, no matter what.
And
And yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want to mention is that that question had a lot to do with illegal immigration. I believe that's probably what is the real structure behind a type of question like that because, you know, it wouldn't really have any other scenario if we're really thinking about it of why would we not want to give citizenship to anybody that's born in the United States, right? And all it comes back to is if the parents were illegal, which they shouldn't be here in the first place, they should not go ahead and have somebody that they have a relationship with and then have somebody born here get citizenship. So I like what Trump's doing on that factor, but I think that's the only time that it would be acceptable. Now if there's probably somebody that has immigrated here properly and they're the first generation, I think they should get citizenship because the parents did it legally. It's all based on, and that's how a lot of Americans have been able to come to this country and think of all our ancestors. Now, of course, I'm a complete descendant from William Bradford on the Mayflower, so I have a deep rooted, in America. But I see that as just a big factor of illegal immigration being a birthright problem, and that's really the only issue. I think that's the main, thing that Trump's trying to define by that.
So I
Mhm.
can say three things about this. So the first thing, when I read the question, I thought of equal protection. So I could be wrong, but I'm not a lawyer. But for legal questions, the good thing about 40 Days for Life, which is what I say, it's such a good like gateway because we have like medical experts and legal experts, and so much that we have our own in-house legal because of course there's so much that we needed. So the campaign leaders and volunteers needed so much support. We for now 2 years we have our own lawyers. So there, if you go to the website and to read about if legal questions about abortion, go there, and then if you don't find the answer there, you can contact a campaign leader like me, and I have access. Once you register for the campaign, I have access to the headquarter team. So I'm just an email away from asking the lawyers or the doctors or the head, like the headquarter team, the campaign strategist. So if I don't find the answer, if the website doesn't give me the answer, I have like a straight way to get to somebody who's can help us. Um, so the lawyers are more focused on making sure, our rights. If somebody, if there's an issue, somebody, the police comes or something like that, it's more for that. But any other questions I can ask about that. Also about the immigration. So I'm a citizen, but I was born in Mexico, so I'm a dual citizenship. So I can. This is very
Oh,
much.
oh, awesome.
Yeah, yes, and this is my bread and butter because I know this issue. And so my uncle was a doctor in a border town, so I got to hear all the stories about all these anchor babies, like there's like the rich people who do it, and then there's also the low income people that try to do it, and it's a disaster, right? Because it's, then things end up the wrong way, and then emergency doctors end up cleaning up all of this chaos. And so yes, so that it's I think, the order is of God and disorder is of the devil. So I think people, I know everybody wants to come here, but there needs to be order. If we don't have law and order, then it's not, the boat is going to sink. So there has to be law and order. And so right now, I think the world needs to like give the U.S. some space, and let us. We had the immigration caravans, and not only did it affect the U.S., it's affecting Mexico, because all the people that didn't cross are now stuck in Mexico and causing issues too. So and they don't have the infrastructure sometimes to humanitarian money to help all these people, and as much as they can help them here in the US. So I think people need to be a little bit graceful right now on that front. And it was yes.
So now I have a question from someone in the chat. They are asking, how can someone participate in 40 Days for Life? Is it all year long? So explain to us what the season for it is. And then we also talked about the leadership, that you're looking for people that would be leaders. Talk about Norwich as well, because we also talked about that.
Sure.
And how to become, let's say, a volunteer, you would call that,
Sure.
so you can attend the vigils and pray. Because I can also see here in the chat, there's a couple people that has came through and said that, they work with you, and they're also began to pray to abortion with you. And someone said, I think here, that was Boho Fitness, who said that I started with 40 Days for Life and was lead to being a prayer partner with Sidewalk Advocates, and became aware to pregnancy centers to support and also advocate for. So kudos to 40 Days for Life. So please give us a little bit more details if someone was really interested, how they can begin.
Yes. So for those who this is the first time they hear about it, they don't know anything about it. So this is similar to campaigns, and that, you tell people to register and they don't register. So this is grassroots. So yes, the best, I always say, if you can go to the website and register, read the website, go to 40 Days for Life, or go to 40daysforlife.com/New Haven. And that's where you register. When you that would be the best way to do it. When you register on the website, become a volunteer, then it's going to prompt, it's almost like when you open an account, you're going to get an email. So sometimes the older people, they get stuck on that, it's too much technology, but so you get an email, you have to confirm that it's you, and then you have to go back on the website and log in. Once you go back on the website and log in with your username and password, it's going to prompt you to sign the statement of peace. And I think I sent it to you. So the statement of peace is something that our legal team wrote for us. So that's how our legal 40 Days for Life Law and Justice Institute helped us out. And so the volunteers have to, if they do it on the computer, on their phone, they have to read it and then agree, like check it, sign that they agreed. Once they do that, then they will have access to the calendar, the vigil calendar. So right now we just finished the spring campaign. So 40 Days for Life there's 3 ways to go about it. You can do it all year. So that's called the 365 campaign. I'm not that, but there are some campaign You to be a 365, I think you need to have 2 regular campaigns under your experience under your belt, and then you can apply and do a 365. Then the traditional ones are the spring or the Lent campaign, they call it as well, and then the fall campaign or autumn campaign. So it depends on the person, because I'm a volunteer. Like, for example, the Waterbury leader, she's a snowbird. So she goes to Florida in the winter. So she doesn't do the spring campaign. So she does it once a year in the fall. So it really depends. The best thing to do is for people to go to the website, because you'll see what's the latest, who's the current, if somebody stopped registering and a new person came on, the website would tell you the email, the phone number, how to contact that person. So I would say go to the website, because you'll get the most accurate information. So let's say now you register. Let's say the next campaign is September 23rd. It's coming up. So for anybody who wants to be a campaign leader like me, right now in Connecticut, we have the Planned Parenthood of Southern New England, and they have 14 Planned Parenthoods, and one of them, 15, one of them is in Rhode Island, 14, I think, are in Connecticut. So if there's a Planned Parenthood close to you, or like Norwich, you can register to become a campaign leader. Right now, June 1st, registration opens up, and there's going to be an early bird. So I'm actually really happy we're doing this now, because for people who want to lead it themselves, like me, it's like $97 to register. And for the early bird, after June 8th, the price goes up a little bit. So let's pretend it's September 23rd, day 1 of the campaign. You register, you create an account, you go in, you would go to the calendar, and you would pick what day you want to go pray and what time. So then I would get a notification saying, Agnes signed up to pray on September 23rd at 1:00. And we don't want any of our volunteers to pray by themselves for safety reasons. We want people to do it at least in pairs. So if I see there's a volunteer praying alone, I would contact my core team, or my, we have a list of, regulars, and I can say like, hey, we got a new volunteer. I don't see anybody praying with them. Is anybody available to go pray with Agnes at 1:00? So she's not by herself. So that's how I kind of manage that safety. There's safety guidelines. There's a process to become a day campaign leader. There's video modules to watch. So there's if I can do it, anybody can do it. Now, if people don't want to be campaign leaders, if they just want to come and pray for 1 hour, then come. And if you can bring a friend, that would be better. If you don't have a friend that wants to come and pray with you, don't worry. We have many volunteers who are so excited when there's a new volunteer. Sometimes you get 3 people show up just because there's a new face. So we'll find you a volunteer to pray with you. And and all we ask is that you don't block the sidewalk. You let others walk. You can, Catholics like to pray the rosary, but you don't. 40 Days for Life is non-denominational, so Christians, other denominations can come. They can bring a Bible. 40 Days for Life has a devotional book with prayers. Or if you don't want to pray, you can just hold one of our signs. These are the signature heavy-duty signs. And you can buy them on the website. You can buy t-shirts, anything you need to go pray, or I have some stuff. And I tell people to hold a sign. Like it's scary when you're holding a sign the first time, because you're like, oh, this is so awkward. People are looking at me. What are they going to say? But you don't want, if you're just standing there and praying, you don't want people to mistake that you're just there praying, waiting in line for the next bus to come. If you're holding the sign, people know why you're praying. They know you're praying to end abortion, and that's different. And people would be, invite anybody to come and support the fall campaign starting on September 23rd. And they would be surprised. There's a lot of people who are pro-life, but they're they're just, they'll go like this, like a thumbs up. So I would say sometimes the pro-choicers are louder and the pro-lifers are just going on about their day, but there's more of us, more than people know.
Well, I think it's important to definitely articulate, that it's not really about the choice. I really don't know why this became a my body, my choice thing. Like, I really hate that as they considering this a choice, really. And I don't think, honestly, if you're already pregnant, you really do have a choice. I mean, there's already it's a baby, and I think
Here in
not
New
a lot
Haven,
of
they do, that's a good point for me to say, they do surgical abortions. So not all Planned Parenthoods in Connecticut do surgical abortions. Some do, some don't. Some do referrals and they send them but New Haven is one of them that they do. And not only do they do the abortions, they train doctors. So sometimes they partner with Yale Medicine to train. There's like a department of complex family or something. If pre-med or medical school students want to learn how to do abortions as a specialty. And they do them Wednesdays and Fridays. And yeah, it's and then they sell the body parts to Yale for them to do research. So uh it's very it's very it's a very, you when you come and pray for an hour, you're at one of the darkest places on earth, because especially if you go on a Friday. Sometimes I have volunteers that say, I want to go pray, but I don't want to go on a Friday, or they tell me when the abortions are, because I don't think I can handle it. And that's fine. You don't have to be there when they're praying when the day abortion day. You can go pray on a Saturday or on a Monday. Or in New Haven, we pray from 12-hour vigil from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So some people can come and pray before work or after school or in the lunch break or on the weekend because that's their time off. So you really just we'll take whatever volunteers can give us. And yeah, it's abortion. It's they go in. There's a famous quote from Sean Carney. Sean Carney is one of the founders. So if people want to learn about how it started, they can go to the website or watch the movie, because it's a very powerful story how it started. But basically the quote goes like this: 40 days for life is the last hope for the baby. So if you think about it, like when the woman goes in pregnant, we also pray for the soul. I tell my volunteers, pray for the soul of the baby, because he's about to go to heaven. So just like you pray for your grandfather when he's in the hospital on his dying bed, and you pray for his soul to just have a peaceful end to his life, the baby's about to go to heaven. So pray for the baby. If you're Catholic, I know some other and then we also, so 40 days for life is the last hope for the baby. This is a quote from Sean Carney. But we are also the first sign of mercy to the woman as she's leaving. They're done with her, but she sees us, and we offer hope, healing, and let her know we are here for you. So when they come out after abortion, it's one of the hardest things to watch. So for those volunteers who, you know, decide to come out on a Friday or a Wednesday, the abortions are done in the morning. So which ones are the abortion patients, because they come with baggy clothes. Just like when you go for a surgery, they tell you to come with comfortable clothes. So you see them, a lot of times they come alone by Uber or Lyft. Sometimes the Uber driver is upset because they're pro-life and they didn't know, now they're complice in this, and they're, I was like, I didn't know I was dropping her off for this. And then they go in, they line them up. So usually they'll do maybe like 20, 25, depending, each week is different. And then you can start seeing them walk out around 10 o'clock. So some of them, if they bring a friend with them, you see them walk slowly to their car or with their partner, or a lot of them just wait for the Uber to come and pick them up. And it's heartbreaking. I've seen, like, sometimes I have a really hard time when I see like parents bring their kids. Like I've seen like it looks like a mother brought a teenage daughter. It's yeah, you're seeing like really dark side of humanity when you're a volunteer doing this. And it changes you. Like, once, even if you just come for 1 hour, it changes you're like, you're not the same after you do a 1 hour volunteer. Something in you changes. You're not the same person. So the more you pray, the more you, and then I think that's how prayer works too. You pray, and then prayer also moves people to go for action. So, after seeing so much, people are like, we should do something, we should do this. People, so the people who we pray, we try to find solutions. Like, what can I do? What can I, within your means. So of course, everybody has different, time availabilities and budgets, and so people work, and you do what you can, and you start with 1 hour.
You ever had any politicians or maybe any candidates that are running or someone coming by your vigil by chance?
So my favorite one was Leora Levy. I knew she was the first politician I've seen since I moved to Connecticut that was very openly pro-life. I remember, what was the governor that Strasanowski, who he lost?
Bob Stefanovsky. Yeah.
His daughter. I remember he put
He was running. Yeah.
a commercial with his daughter saying that she was happy because her dad was pro-choice, and I thought that was not a good commercial for him to do. But as far as politicians coming themselves out to pray with us, no. And 40 Days for Life, we're not political, but this is something I could do. Like, if I were to have like a 40 days event, a politician is welcome to come and say some words. I just can't tell my volunteers 40 Days for Life is endorsing this politician.
Oh, no. That was completely not my point. I was just wondering, because obviously I'm Republican, so I would love for everybody who's Republican to
my
be
experience, the Connecticut Republicans are pro-choice a lot of the time.
I mean, I would like for them to be against the abortion. I want to say it that way. This means, I would like to see them advocating a lot more, because when you really think about it, they don't talk too much, and this is where I'm going, because I want Jaden to get on this conversation with us here. To tell us what
well, I want to say one thing is that I'm on the website right now, is about to become a leader. Hey, I was gonna lead.
Oh, yeah. Wow! Did I just recruit a leader?
Yeah, but the thing
funny
is,
because me and Jaden we met at the convention, believe it or not.
Yeah, and
the Holy Spirit was working in that convention,
right? Well, the thing is that I'm the strongest candidate for pro-life right now in the state. And I see right here that the applications are from February 18th to March 29th. So they're closed right now.
They're closed. June 1st, they're going to open for the fall.
Okay, very good.
So basically what you're seeing is, for people who didn't register after the deadline for the spring, there's, at some point they cut it off.
Right, because what I plan on doing, and I'll show on the camera right here, is we have Willimantic. Now, I think it's inverted, so you can't really read it on the camera.
Yeah, the location.
The Planned Parenthood Willimantic Center. It's about 20 minutes from me, and so far there isn't somebody signed up to do that one. So right there, I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of Planned Parenthoods. Everybody can have one.
Yeah. So, but that's
40 Days for Life. people, this happened when I got involved with them. So I think traditionally campaign leaders can register a campaign, of course, if there's a Planned Parenthood or like a private abortion center, but they also let people register a campaign if there's pharmacies. So sometimes what ended up happening is that some, people were able to close down their Planned Parenthood in their town, and like, what do we do now? So they were, already motivated and on a roll, so they opened up that possibility for people to, if uh, for those pharmacies that are giving out abortion pills, people
Right.
can also. So far, nobody in Connecticut has registered a campaign on a CBS or something,
Yeah,
Walgreens,
that's
but
so interesting because telehealth, right? Telehealth is a
no.
big thing nowadays where you go ahead and you don't even have to go to a Planned Parenthood. You can sign up through your doctor on the telephone or the app or whatever, and they give you the pill, Plan B or whatever it's called, and they just kill the baby like that, So I want
Mhm.
to make sure that we fight for life. That's what this is all about. And of course, you praying at the center is something that God sees, but also is an actionable step that we can have a campaign going off of this, So I want to see this take off. I really do. And I see it's already successful. So let's keep on
So
growing
I
that.
started with 30 volunteers in the spring of 2023, and now I have like 412 registered volunteers.
Hmm.
Wow, that's
So,
awesome.
for example, those volunteer, I'm learning as I go. So for example, some volunteers that register, they could be like, they were the friend of a friend. So they came once and it's, so I always, once you register, you get emails from Sean Carney. So during campaign season, he sends out vigil emails every day with stories. So part of my job is, if there's I can do vigil reports. If something I want to report, take pictures, send a picture of people praying or something. If they get to cherry pick the best stories, and and the 40 Days for Life is international now, so you get to see what's going on in Europe, what's going on in America, what's going on in South America. And then so that's cool. They do give us a lot of support. I think this organization has a great headquarters. They're really cool. And then another thing, once you register, they have video modules. You watch them, as you go. And then the cool thing about 40 Days for Life is, if you have any questions, they're an email away. And you email them, and 30 minutes later, they email you back. And if you are like, oh, I don't want to, I have this issue, I don't want to type it all out, can I just go on a phone call? They're like, yeah, they'll call you, and they're like really, they want to help you, and they've done it, so they know what it's like. And they do regional workshops, the headquarter team. So right now they're going to do a regional workshop in Atlanta, another one in Seattle. And so if you're a campaign leader, you get to go to the regional workshops. You get one hotel room per campaign, meaning, so you can go with your friends, you want to, as many as you can fit in the hotel room, like you can take in the hotel, but you only get one they pay for the hotel and the meals, and they to help you just have to get there, drive there or fly there. And then they do the national symposium. So once a year we come together, and that's amazing, because there's like 500 of us plus, and so you get to meet the Hawaii leader, or you get to the California has a lot of leaders, and we're just all the same. And, for America, like it's so divided. And then I go to the symposiums, and they're like, okay, no, we can still pull it off. There's we might be living in a different state, but we're all Americans, and so and it's very very beautiful in that way. And then the symposium is like a 3-day thing. So last symposium was very cool. It was in Houston, and so we were in the hotel, and they added an extra day, and they actually took us to the headquarters on a bus. So you should really see the movie because like the headquarters is in the movie, like the story about what happened to the headquarters. So watch the movie and you'll see why, it's not just going to an office building. It's more meaningful
Right.
than
So
when you
I have
watch the
another
movie.
question. I have another question from King Josh, and it's actually funny because he just asked what for Jaden, what is the first thing you would do as state rep in CT if elected? And I think we already answered that question because you're already working on it,
Yeah.
But I
Well,
want to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about yourself and what
Yeah.
actually made you to run. And we already know you pro-life, which is
right.
absolutely
It's a
amazing.
rarity in Connecticut.
It is.
It's
It
true.
is. I mean, I do know a couple other people that are absolutely pro-life, and then I have had them on this podcast already, so I can connect you with them maybe a little later. Maybe they want to also do something. But as for right now, I want Jaden to tell us a little bit. What's your story and what district is District 50? And if you do want to still tell us what you would do for Connecticut if you got elected, that would be great.
Absolutely. Well, first off, before I jump into everything, I just sent an email to 40 Days for Life to make sure I have that all situated. I'll keep an eye on that because that's going to happen. We're going to really hit home here in Connecticut. We're going to take action to Planned Parenthood and really see something great happen around here, especially with prayer, because that's a big one. Prayer is powerful and people don't realize that. And I saw that comment earlier. Somebody mentioned Yukon having a large
Yes.
Catholic population and nice Christian people. Of course,
They
I
should
got
have one. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
They
hey,
should have a campaign.
I can definitely utilize Yukon because they were the ones that endorsed me for state representative recently.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. And so I have a good connection basis there, and I'm actually having an event over there for, sharing the gospel in that area too, in September. But so let me kind of get jumping right into what you just asked me. And of course, that's big, right? Being one of the biggest pro-life advocates in the state that's running for Connecticut state representative. And not only that, but I have the best chance of any Republican candidate in the entire state of winning. And you might ask me, Jaden, is that just you being bold? No, it's statistically speaking, because 4 years ago, the person that ran against my current opponent, he only lost by 1,000 votes. Then 2 years ago, my opponent ran again with nobody facing him at all. So he won by default, but then Kamala Harris only won by 100 votes. And then this year, I'm the one that's working the hardest on anybody on the east side of the Connecticut River. And so I've already doing the early vote, making sure people are getting out for that, signing people up, going door knocking, talking with the voters, already fundraising. Everything's going according to plan, to knock on wood, right? And today I was able to raise money, talk with voters. So I'm every single day with this thing. But definitely, before I kind of jump into more details, everybody that's watching right now or on the recording, go to jadenforthe50th.com and go ahead, either sign up to be a volunteer. I can help you. Even if you're not in the area, I'll make sure you're involved somehow. And if you can contribute just $5, that's going to benefit and booster everything. And especially for pro-life, because that's the big issue right now is what is going on in the state of Connecticut with pro-life people. Even the Republicans are kind of backing off on it. And of course, I know some people that are a stronghold, but for the majority of them, they want to be coined this moderate type that, is a little scared to, make somebody upset. But at the end of the day, we're here to fight for what's right, and we need to stand for the truth. So let's kind of jump back a little bit here on why I decided to run, what my experience is, and how it's going, as of this entire year. I'm officially the GOP endorsed candidate for District 50. Now, District 50 is interesting. It actually has the southern half of Mansfield where UConn is, but I don't have all the college students voting for me, which is actually a benefit because they're more liberal anyways. So I got the southern half of that town. Then I have Ashford, Woodstock, Pomfret, Brooklyn, Eastford, and I even have a town called Hampton. So all those towns, that's 7 in total, and it's more like the rural district in the northeastern half of the state instead of Connecticut. And I see that as being one of the best opportunities to fight for what's, righteous and what has morality in place, because these are the people that care. We have, of course, a light red district. So there's actually more Republicans than Democrats in this side of the state, surprisingly. And
yes, you're right. And I don't know, is Griswold the part of your district or no?
no,
That's
Griswold is
okay.
south of me, but that's more close to like the Norwich area.
Yes, it is.
Yep, but I don't have Griswold.
I just wanted to tell you because I just did a flag wave, you can call it, before the weekend before the convention. And I must tell you that these people there in the boonies are freaking amazing.
Yeah.
The energy and the truthfulness to being a Republican is amazing. I have loved it. This was by far the best flag wave with the best people that we have ever thrown, in that direction, because we mostly try to stay in the middle of the state, so if people wanted to come, we're not like way too far into other directions. But now we're expanding and trying to do different parts of the state. And actually, you're talking about those like areas where there's mostly.
Now, did Jason Gordeau go to that?
Yes, he was there, and his wife. Yes. Him,
so I know
George
him very
Austin
well.
Came. George Austin. I don't know if you know Mark Adams also came. And a couple other people, which the names, of course, is going to be a problem. But that's why I say these guys really do pay attention, and even came if it was, out of their ways. But they knew that we were coming and we're doing and throwing this event. They wanted to be there. And I just loved it so much. And I'm jealous. Really, I have never been jealous about anybody who lives in the boonies because I'm from the big city. Okay. And usually I was like, oh my God, it's such a farm and stuff. But right now, I really love you guys because of the views you guys and values that you guys present.
Well, I have to mention, this is America's 250th anniversary. So we should be patriotic all over the state, right?
I heard this from the convention, from the.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. And hey, we have to celebrate America, and we have to celebrate what made America great, right? Which is, of course, our liberties, everything that it has morality in it, pro-life. We have the homeschoolers. We have everything that we have for freedom. Now, of course, Connecticut is going down a bad path right now. So let's just pull back a little bit. What got me involved, right? I went ahead and started working at the Connecticut State Capitol in this legislative session of 2026 in the Energy and Technology Committee. So very a technical analysis of a committee. So I didn't like get on the educational board or something. I was very, I'm a technology guy. I know energy, I'm a mathematician over here. So I've been studying all that, but that's good too, right? So I know all of the background of who was at the Capitol during this year. I know exactly the controversial legislation that was getting passed. I know the budget that was just passed and signed by the governor, which they just did a 9% increase in our budget just for the fun of it, because we had a surplus this year and they just increased it 9%.
Yeah, exactly.
Just so
I was going to say, this is going to kill us even more. Like, how come?
The reason is because they're corrupt and they don't want to give us our money back. Because if we had a surplus, the money should go back to the Connecticut state residents, right? Like, isn't that obvious? But here we have, these politicians that only care about what their pet projects are. So I was there working in the state capitol this year, and honestly, my entire attitude towards it was like, all right, I have a great opportunity to learn to do some networking because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur that did real estate. I was an investor for a while. And so I did the job just to kind of understand how legislation works so I can be able to have a better business, right? And then when I was there, I was seeing all this corruption take place, all these very controversial bills getting passed, which was the homeschool bill, the gun rights bill, and they were revoking the religious vaccination exemption all in one day. Whoa. And so I saw all that happen, and I'm thinking in my head, all right, I know I'm an entrepreneur, I know I'm a business guy, but there's some serious needing. And I'm living in Connecticut, so if I don't help save this state, Lord willing, of course, this isn't even going to be Connecticut anymore pretty soon. And so I looked at what my opponent is right now. Of course, he's been in there for 9 years in a light red district. And I said to myself, this is very winnable. Then I started studying his voting policy. Oh, so he used to be a moderate, but now he votes 98% with the Democrat Party. Oh, okay. So now all I have to do is educate people on his stance. And then I started studying what really mattered to people. And it was not personality politics in my area, it was policy. And what happened was with the controversial legislation, my opponent actually does not even vote during those times. So I had all this ammunition. Talk about them trying to ban guns, right? But I had all this ammunition, and I was able to structure a great campaign just based off of me working there, seeing the opportunity, understanding the policy, and now putting my hat in the ring and saying, all right, let's take this over and really give it a fight to have a battle with.
That's
And
awesome.
so, yeah, and thank you. And at this point, I'm the hardest worker in the campaign, and any campaign on the east side of the Connecticut River. Of course, I worked with Ryan Fazio in the Energy and Technology Committee, and I want to make sure there is a red wave this year, which is difficult because the midterms are historically known to flip the other side. And so I have to work very diligently and see this strategically in a manner. But we don't have the presidential election, so it's not as motivating for the Democrats either. So we'll see how it turns out, but I have a very good chance.
So I want to bring up a comment because you're saying about the red wave, and I remember.
Yep.
So 40 Days for Life, the headquarter, they do weekly podcasts, and I remember them doing a podcast when last time the everybody was talking about the red wave and it didn't happen. They did a podcast because they talk about abortion, but other things too in the podcast, weekly podcast. That affects abortion, like policy too. Sometimes they bring it up, and that was one of the episodes they brought it up, and they said that Republicans were upset because the red wave didn't happen, but they did 40 Days for Life their own research, and they said where the Republicans were like matching the Republican values, those Republicans won. Where the Republicans were kind of what you were saying, like the way they were voting, where it was not matching, then people. So the system works when people don't think you're gonna, you're not. If for example, if pro-life, if you're then people, Republicans that are very pro-life won't vote for you.
Exactly,
And so
because
they'll just abstain their vote.
when you're not authentic, you're
When you're
not
not,
going to win.
you're
It's
gonna
easy
lose.
as that. Yeah.
As easy as that. So yeah.
It's
So
a
like,
big thing, right? Because in our state, right, we actually are split down the middle. If we look at the national polls of Connecticut by voting, Connecticut
mhm.
only wins with the Democrat Party about 60%. So we have a 40% population that votes as Republicans around here. Now, that means that you get moderates, you get unaffiliated, you get a whole mixture. But if you look at the pockets, right, especially District 50, where I'm from, it's a Republican stronghold. You have all these areas that you have to do an analytic research on, but you can be able to identify what you can be able to place somebody in and win it. Now, let me also go back to what I'm doing to really get the word out, because I've had a lot of social media experience in my time. You know, I'm a young guy still, so that is kind of ironic. I'm actually 23 years old, so I'm very young, and I see all these things happen. Yes, and here's the thing. I'm doing America's 250th anniversary podcast. I just had Senator Rob Sampson on today. I actually went out and did a recording on top of a tower with drone footage, and we're really making it something big out of it.
Wait, where do we see this?
It's gonna be on my social media.
You didn't tell me. Wait,
Yeah.
well, not only on Facebook, you must have a YouTube channel or something.
I do. Yeah, and
What?
well,
You never told me.
well, there's gonna be a lot this year. There's too much to keep up with.
What is your YouTube channel? I want to know now.
Well, it's just my first and last name, but
he's making an announcement right here, right now.
Yeah. Well, I have to edit that podcast, but it's a big episode that we're gonna.
We can subscribe already to you.
Well, let me just say is that we're gonna really hit home this year. No matter what, we are going to put the effort in, and we're going to blow away the competition. We're already doing that. My opponent's not even campaigning until September. Like, I have all this free time, but the thing is that I'm not sleeping one bit, right? And so we're going to have a pro-life advocate right here. We're going to have a homeschooling advocate right here. And of course, I was homeschooled during high school. So I went ahead and saw them trying to put stipulations on homeschoolers. And I'm thinking in my head, all right, well, you're going after my own way of life. So there's all these things. And of course, I'm a Christian too. So they're them removing the religious vaccination exemption. Think of COVID, right? If you wanted to work a government job, let's say during COVID-19, and you knew that abortion was used with stem cells to make the COVID-19 shot, and you said, I don't want to take that, they'd fire you. Guess what they did to all those people in the military? They fired them, right? Now, Trump had to go ahead and pass some legislation to hire them back or give them, some benefits or something like that. So now they're taken care of. But during that time, people had to refuse the vaccine, and they could not use the religious vaccination exemption on a federal level, but the state has it in Connecticut, and then they just revoked it just recently. And that's
parish schools. I was shocked to learn like even private parish schools were being forced. So yeah, I think there was like a lawsuit against that. So yeah.
It's huge. It's honestly, this is what you call communism and also socialism. Now, I used to think of those terms as buzzwords because I'm a young guy. I watched Fox News and always thought, oh, they're just trying to say their own thing. They're using a Reagan quote or whatever. But as I was working at the Connecticut State Capitol, all these people that were workers, they said, to each other, literally, Democrats were talking to each other right next to me. And they said in a conversation, hey, are you communist? Oh, of course I am. I'm communist. And I'm thinking in my head, what am I listening to right now? And then they said, I had one person, one of my coworkers said, that senator right there, she's a socialist, but don't tell anybody. But she really emphasizes that in her policies. And I'm like, what is going on here? So we have so many people behind the scenes that aren't public about their corrupt policies with their corrupt socialization in their mind. And so I see all these people as individuals, but if they don't have the moral structure, they should not be elected officials, no matter what. So I am going to advocate, no matter how long it takes, how many years it is in my favor or not, but we are going to bring back Connecticut as a stronghold, and we're going to get a Republican governor this year, hopefully. I see that as a great opportunity, and he's the only person that got a 90% approval from the GOP since like 1990s. Like, what is going on with that? So we're the most unified party currently, and I see.
Well, that's because we lost one candidate. Yeah,
I know, but it still is a factor, right? We have a lot of unification right now, and especially in my area, I'm seeing everybody go against my opponent, even Republicans that were semi for him. Hey,
Mhm.
now they're turning back to me.
Yeah.
So there's all this flip-flopping of, I guess, mindsets, right? People have a structure in their mind for a long time until they see a real problem at hand. And we are
Yeah.
in that motion right now where there's problems at hand that are destroying our liberties by the face of it. You know, it's not even hidden anymore. We're just blatantly taking away our rights. They're banning Glocks, which is the most commonly used gun in the whole entire state. And then, of course, they're going after homeschoolers. They're going after the religious vaccination. It's everything in between. And of course, we see Planned Parenthood being this huge thing in our state, of course, across the nation. But that wasn't even a big thing, like, let's say 20 years ago. It's just recently when that's been a huge, and especially with telehealth, you know, as I mentioned earlier, that's propping up as a huge political statement saying, hey, you don't even have to go to Planned Parenthood. Don't make it political. Just go ahead and go through the app on your phone and order the medication. Take this for so many weeks and you get your abortion done. Like, okay, we have to really fight hard against that stuff because they are real. It's not like they're a clump of salespeople. Those are real people that are getting murdered by the establishment. That's the political party that's fighting for it, is the establishment figures in Connecticut right now, and they're advocating for murder. So we have
You
a
could also
lot to
say
do.
another way that Connecticut like didn't help either, the legislation. They
Mhm.
added that bill that was gonna so before you needed to be a doctor to do abortions, and then they passed the bill where anybody like a midwife could do abortions. So I started actually with 40 Days for Life when that bill passed. Like I was
Mm.
my first, or I can't remember, second campaign, and I got to see the I've never had that experience, where you hear about policy, but then you get to see the live out the consequences. Because as soon as they passed that bill, I was seeing they were training the midwives, and the ambulance was coming like every other week to pick up, because they were make practicing base it was experimenting. And Planned Parenthood, they don't have all the equipment. So if something goes wrong, oops, I guess go to let's call the ambulance. You need the emergency, you need the experts, So I have pictures of that. I remember that summer, just it was so heartbreaking, and to see how much the policy class, the politicians failed the citizens in that regard, because they put actually women in harms. And
And
you
think of
wonder, like,
that
I
event.
wonder if the woman,
Yeah.
did she die? Is she infertile now? I don't know. I just know she left in an ambulance, and that's not good.
It's horrible, and I just want to mention what I was saying there is, think of the event that you went through personally. It took
Mhm.
that for you to get involved and really see a problem at hand. Most of the time, this is the most of the time, there's not even an event like that, and it's happening below our optics. And so
Exactly.
we have no
Your sight
idea
out of
what
mind.
else. Yeah, and that's the problem, is right now it's on a mass scale. We have to take control, ban this telehealth where they're trying to give the abortion pills, ban the Parenthoods. Planned Parenthood should not even exist in America. It's America's 250th anniversary. This should be the first thing we celebrate by closing all of them down. So we have a lot to do. Of course, it takes one person at a time to step up and call what's right. Now, I'm glad that you're promoting that, because honestly, it needs to be. We have to fight back one way or another. And so that's why I'm using my platform as my own name, like trying to run for state representative. And I know I have a really great chance because I've done the analytics here, but it takes one person at a time to stand up for what's right and truly make a difference. And so I want to be one of those leaders on 40 Days for Life. That's something in the works I'm going to make sure to do for Willimantic. Get the Yukon people involved. Get
That's
everybody on this side of the river. You know, I want to make sure we have some structure here. And of course, anybody that wants to get involved with me, jadenforthe50th.com, go ahead and donate $5. That's all I'm asking. Please do so, because just $5 will make a huge difference, because I'm trying to get a grant And once you donate that $5, it will multiply by 6. Literally multiply by 6 from your $5. So do that if you have $5 in your account. I don't know. Hopefully you're not scraping by that much, but please do so. And definitely follow me on social media. If you want to see those podcast episodes where I had, Senator Rob Sampson on a tower with drone footage and really talking about the topics that matter, we're making an emphasis this year to celebrate the United States of America, especially in Connecticut, because we have some of the best history, being one of the original 13 colonies. And I just did an episode with Representative Doug Dubick. Hold on, his name is kind of hard to say. Doug Dubicksky. Okay, there we go. See, I'm trying to. But I just did an episode with him at the Nathan Hale Homestead. And we did a great, and it was recorded with footage and everything. And he talked about our nation's hero, which is Nathan Hale, right? And we have such a great history basis that just starts with emphasizing what's correct and what's moral and what's great about the United States, but especially Connecticut, because we need to bring back what is morally correct again. So
something I heard was when I came here to Connecticut and became a leader, was everybody, for the pro-lifers who were doing older ones, what they told me is that Connecticut used to be very conservative. So even if you wanted to have an abortion, you needed to go to New York or Rhode Island, but Connecticut was conservative. So I don't.
Not only conservative, but I'll tell you what else about Connecticut. It was the most Christian state or colony that has ever been existed in the whole entire nation. It's true. If you look at the laws from the old past, you couldn't even say God's name in vain in Connecticut. I'm telling you, it's very interesting. And so there's a lot to kind of look at the history of the state, but it was very Christian. It was very moral. And then, of course, there was structuring, and now it's probably one of the most liberal. So we want to go back to at least what was proper, what was moral, and just have a good basis again. And I agree with you. Connecticut still has a conservative base, though. Of course, it being 40% Republican by just the numbers alone. But in those pockets, especially where I'm at, we are very close to just flipping those seats and having control again.
Yeah, so if whenever you're campaigning, you can pass on that message that basically, don't be afraid to stand up for your values because you think you're going to lose voters. Because, like I said, 40 days, go ahead and research it for your own. But on the opposite, if you're strong in your values, people will respect and vote for you. If you're trying to please everybody, you're going to lose.
Yeah, and that's also being transparent. If you're transparent about your morals up front and you say, this is what I truly believe, people respect that, even if they don't fully commit to what your ideology is. If they know what you are and they truly want to vote for that, then they'll do so, right? And I look at myself as, why would I not want to be bold about what I believe if I'm giving somebody the option to vote for me or the other guy? So I look at it as a very simple perspective: is make sure you're transparent, you're easy to listen to, you communicate well, and you get a message out there that the voters can understand and process and be able to make that decision on voting day.
Yeah, I think you're going to do great.
Thank you.
Jaden, were you homeschooled?
Yes, I was.
Well, your parents did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I was asking a question recently to the homeschoolers about how they taught pro-life with the at homeschool kids, because what I'm finding out in my research, just if I give you guys some news here, what I've learned, there's a lot of material for like little kids, and then there's a lot of material for like graphic, like college. But then I think there's a missing educational material for, that first conversation with eighth graders, for example, like a wholesome. So I think parents should be involved in this for sure. But Planned Parenthood, and I can talk about this in my experience, is usually the one that comes. You were so lucky to be homeschooled, because if you go to public school, Planned Parenthood is the one that teaches you sex education.
Well, it's
So,
interesting because I actually went to public school all the way till 6th grade. And
oh, did you
then
get the Planned Parenthood sex education class? Sex
I
ed?
got it's interesting because I went to Woodstock for public school.
Mhm.
And Woodstock is very interesting in the way they structure their curriculum because they have a preparatory school right after that. And
Uh-huh.
so they have an interesting I only got like a first half of it where they had like a video or something. But that they didn't really go in detail like so. But yes, they did have that. And so I was in public school till 6th, then I was in a Christian academy from 7th and 8th, and then homeschooled for all of high school. So I see that as a big issue where they do, the education on the factor of trying to promote Planned Parenthood. They try to promote abortion. They say, have all this crazy, relationships, and it doesn't matter if you get a baby out of it. Like, we need to go back to what is morally correct from what the Bible says, right? Like, if
Or,
we have to
they,
go
they
back to the
hand out
root.
cheap condoms, and then they like, oh, they got pregnant. They probably didn't know how to use it. He's like, no, like, morally, you shouldn't be even like promoting exactly that, because
Now,
it,
now
it usually.
children are a blessing. I love children. I
Mhm.
think people should make a family and have a great family unit, right? We have to go back to the family structure. But when you
Right.
do it out of order, and of course you promote killing the baby, what is wrong with those people? Like, it's insane. It's literal insanity. But I
It's not
want
What
only
about
that has been
pro
promoted
family
here.
laws? Any pro family things that you could support?
sorry, it went kind of like in between.
Yeah. Because I went in, I said it's not only promoting to get rid of the baby, because you said we need a family unit, right?
Hmm.
Pro
So
family
I'm
support.
thinking man and a woman family unit, but now they've been promoting every other thing but a man and a woman family,
Yeah,
So
we
that's my
definitely.
point.
I love what you just said right there. We need to ban gay couples from adopting children. I'll just say it like that. It's straight. Because if they keep on adopting children like that, they're promoting their bad ideology, but they are the most corrupt people on the face of the planet. Come on, let's think of Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, come on, what is going on with that? But let's be for real. There's more child abusers when they're
Yep.
adopted from gay couples. It's a very real statistic. I'm not even lying about that. Look that up. So it's horrible out there if you're not doing it the proper way as a good family unit of a man and husband, or I I think I flipped that. But
Men
you
and
know what I'm saying. Yeah,
a
man
wife.
or woman. But we need to make sure that the man and the husband doesn't have children, but it's the man and the woman, right? And so we have to go back to what is proper and just what is American. Like, that is what built America, isn't it? Is the family structure of what we
Mhm.
used to have, and then we go by that. And it's simple. It's just reverting back. That's what conservatives are, right? They conserve what we used to have, and then you promote it. And of course, you can even make adjustments, but you don't
Mhm.
throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So, is there any questions you guys have for me? I'm here being transparent.
Yeah, so there is actually one for there was two for Mariana when we
Mhm.
were talking, and then
Sure.
let's see if people want to ask you any questions.
Mhm.
But for Mariana was, do you guys pray in any other language and organize these vigils in any other languages? And another question is, how does 40 Days for Life help defend the freedom of speech?
Okay, so the language question. So 40 Days for Life now is international. So when you like let's say if you become register as a campaign leader, you get access to the leader dashboard, and they give you material there in Spanish, English, and French, I think only for, and for example, here in New Haven, we have a large Hispanic community. So I've had, a church, St. Francis, call out for them. They're amazing. They come out and so what I do in New Haven as a campaign leader, like the more I do it, the smarter I get. And, I learn how to communicate a little bit better. It gets hard, but I look for day captains to adopt a day. So there's a day captain from St. Francis, and a lot of the people that came out to pray on that day were Spanish speakers, but even the English speakers would come out and practice their Spanish. Maybe they took Spanish in high school or something, and they came out and pray, Our Father in Spanish, and brushed up on their Spanish. So that was, for right now, with the Hispanic parts of the Hispanic community being so, with issues with immigration, that was such a beautiful bonding thing, because sometimes they saw an American praying with them, and that's how beautiful. Like, that's a unifying thing, not a dividing thing. They're like, okay, like, we don't have to be afraid. We're it's beautiful. And then I don't have any Polish, so I don't know. Agnes can help me with the Polish community praying.
You know what? I have never really thought about this. It's funny though, but I cannot pray in English.
Really?
I've been here for 23 years. And if I ever went to church, it would be always a mass in Polish. I mean, unless it was for something, meant for something that will be in English, obviously. But then I don't know usually how to act, which is weird. Because my whole entire life, all my like first communion, I had a christening, I had a confirmation and all that. Everything was in Polish. I came to United States when I was already an adult. I was 23 years old. So, I don't have kids. So it's not like I had to learn to teach them possibly, you know what I mean? But I probably still would like to teach them in Polish anyways. So it's just a little bit like with the math for me. When the math gets a little complicated, I have to use my Polish brain to count in math,
That's funny.
So when I'm praying, it's always in Polish. That's how funny this is. So if I ever came to your, a prayer vigil, you guys, I don't know if you pray out loud or if everybody prays.
That's a good question. So like if you come, like let's say the Hispanic community, they like to sing. So they know how to like sing like choir songs. So they'll pray and then maybe they'll finish with one or two songs and they'll pray, sing that together. The Americans, they like to pray, and they'll pray out loud, like the rosary. They'll pray out loud. If it depends how many people are there when you're praying. So like let's say for example, day one, I try to make sure a lot of people come out to pray on day one. So sometimes we'll have a group of 10, 15 people praying. So I'll bring a speaker and maybe I'll put the rosary in the speaker and we can all follow it together. But then once the campaign starts, some days, dwindle down a little bit. So then you might have 2 people praying, 3 people praying. So you just pray together. Now, what happens if you have like a Christian and a Catholic, it's, whatever they each want to do, if talk it out, like a human. So I would say talk to your, say be honest, like don't feel bad if you don't want to pray the rosary, but say like I'll just, if it's okay if I just stand here and hold a sign. And yeah, like people are like, I think what's beautiful about 40 Days for Life, it makes community, like these things that you don't know how to do, you work it out on the sidewalk, and then you bond with people amazing, like all ages. So we have people come from all ages. Like sometimes moms come with their kids, the ones that are comfortable bringing with their kids, and they use it as a way to teach their kids how to pray. Older people come out, and maybe older people can't stand on their feet too long, so they'll bring a lawn chair and maybe they'll just sit and hold a sign or pray. So it really what what happens if it's raining? Sometimes it's raining and you're there and you pray, and if you're with somebody, it's always good to pray together, and you just the rosary. That's why the rosary helps, because it just repetition. You don't have to think about it. You just like do it, and it calms your nerves too. You start nervous, by the end of it, you're calmed down. Um, I would say maybe like don't bring big speakers. Maybe at this, I know the pro-choicers do that, but I try not to disturb too much. The Planned Parenthood in New Haven, it's in a residential area, so there's homes around. So I try to be we're going to be the peaceful and respectful ones. So a little speaker, and that's not too bad, just for the people
Especially
around
if you have children there, right? You're trying to have a good family environment, so you don't want
you.
to
Yeah.
have something aggregating, something controversial, right?
Yeah, so and it depends how long are you going to be there. Like, are you going to be there for an hour? Are you going to be there for 2 hours? Are you going to be there for 3 hours? I mean, I've had volunteers do like 10-hour shifts, but that's rare. Usually people come for like an hour to 3 hours. Maybe some will do 4 or 5 here and there, especially if it's like abortion day. They'll come at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock and leave at 12 or 1. But you
Mariana,
control your
is,
time there.
is this always on a weekday, or do you guys ever meet on a weekend?
Well,
But
that's what I mean. Like, let's say right now, let's pretend is September 23rd. So September 23rd, my job is to make sure that there's people there praying from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So the last shift would be 6 to 7. So my job is to email my volunteers and say like, hey, campaign season's coming up. This is why I said it's very similar to political campaign in that regard. You learn to communicate with your volunteer base. It's very grassroots. So I think you would be a perfect match, actually, because you have those skills and they can transfer. So I email my volunteers and I say, hey, we're up again. Let me know if what I learned to do to help my volunteers, because what I learned is if you just tell people the website's there, people don't go to the website that much. But what I do is like I email my volunteers. At first I was really shy. I'm like, I don't know these people, I don't want to bug them. But I send out weekly emails. So let's say like on a Sunday I'll email the schedule, and even though the schedule's on the website, they could see it if they were to log in. They're not going to log in and look at it a lot of the times, especially like the older ones or people that haven't registered yet. So I do that. I provide that service for them. I say, okay, Monday, there's nobody praying. Tuesday, 2 people are praying. Wednesday, I have 10 people praying. Wednesday, nobody. Friday, we have 20 people praying. So, and then I tell people fill the gaps. If you see somebody praying by themselves, go, or if you see, nobody's praying from this time to this time, maybe try to fill it up. So it's never going to be like perfect, like 100% full. But what I like to do is make sure like day 1 is 100% covered. And then what the day captains can help me is adopting a day, they just have to fill up their day that they are adopting. So like, such and such church is coming out to pray on this day with their parishioners, and they, I tell them like, don't feel bad if sometimes they get shocked. Like, I can't believe not many more people came out. And I tell them, don't get discouraged. Like, even if you start small, even if you start with 5 people from your church, maybe next campaign you'll get 7, and don't manage your expectations. But once you get it going, that it's grassroots. Like that's how I ended up with 412. So, and then you build community, and then they become fans. You see people buying T-shirts, and like, where did you get it? Like, oh, like I got it. I was like, I didn't. They become fans. We become a family. And what was the other question? I know there was that's
so it
basically.
was about
I
the
have a
freedom.
Facebook page too, so I try to put pictures and videos so people get an idea of what it is. But what was the other question?
So I asked you if you do it anyhow on the weekend, and the other question that
Yeah,
someone
we
has
can.
asked, what do you do basically for freedom of speech?
So
To
yeah, so the
defend
campaign is
freedom
Monday
of
through Saturday. So you can go and register. Like right now, you can't register because it's not campaign season. You can register to start, receiving emails, but you can't register to go pray right now unless I upgrade to 365, which I know a lot of people are asking me, like, oh, why don't you do it all year? So maybe I'll
Yeah, but
consider
it can be
praying.
draining also, I mean,
Yeah,
that's something that you want to be doing every single day. It
there's
gets,
pros and cons. Yes.
yeah, I mean, it is not this happy topic, that we're on here, talking about it. And so doing it every single day, I would say would be absolutely draining,
Well,
because
if
on
you
a
grow
day,
it big enough, if you have a lot of people helping you, you could.
right.
So and I'm growing it slowly. So once campaign season start, basically, my job is to encourage people to go and pray anytime they can and want from Friday till Saturday. I When you're a campaign leader, and you'll see, you get to choose your schedule. So you get to choose if you want to do a 12-hour vigil or a 24-hour vigil. The original campaign in Texas, they were 24-hour vigils. But I do 12-hour vigils, and then I get to say what time we start, what time. So 7 to 7, because I thought people can go 7 before to work, and 6 o'clock they could go and pray after work. And it gets dark in the fall early, so I didn't want to make it too late either. And so 7 to 7 Monday, and then I took Sunday off just to give people a time to rest. And it gives me time to also not worry about having volunteers out there, and I can focus on the emailing out the calendar and getting ready for the next week myself. And so that's the vigil calendar. As far as what do they do for rights? So now that we have our own Law and Justice Institute, there was a famous case during the Biden administration. Mark Hoke, he was a campaign leader in Pennsylvania, and the Biden DOJ sent the FBI to raid his house. And you can look it up. There's 40 Days for Life, the podcast. They did a podcast with him where Sean Carney interviewed. They couldn't talk about it when the lawyers were dealing with it, but after they dealt with it, they did a podcast to talk about it and share how it happened step by step, break it down for people. So he was acquitted, and not only was he was acquitted, they sued the DOJ, 40 Days for Life, he just won the case, $1 million. So the 40 Days for Life Law and Justice is headed by Matt Britton, and they have their lawyers there. So they're there to help us out, the campaign leaders and the volunteers. So if there's any issues, they're there. If they need to defend us, they'll defend us for, they'll cover the defense. Um, but because they do 40 Days for Life such a good job um, investing in their campaign leaders like me and all of us, they have the training modules. They're available to answer train. If I have questions, I always ask them. That the vigil is very peaceful. I've been doing this for 4 years, and I never really needed the DOJ, other than if um, maybe somebody yelled at somebody, but nobody has been hurt physically in New Haven. So if you're doing a good job as a campaign leader to tell people what to do, what not to do, and then the volunteers will follow. That's why they need to sign the statement of peace, so they understand what to do, what not to do. We're not here to, you know, uh, trespass private property or do anything to Planned Parenthood, workers, or harass the workers. On the contrary, you're trying to help them find a better job, some to refer them to organizations that can help them find a better job. So because everything is so well done, the foundation is so strong, there's no no issues. We have a track record of being so peaceful and good-hearted people. So, but of course, if the rare case, and Mark Hoke, I think they were trying to make an example out of him to scare everybody away. And so I definitely encourage everybody to go and find the episode where they talk to him, and we have to thank him because they wanted him to take like a plea deal. And even though he was innocent, they wanted him. They were, threatening him with 11 years of putting him away. And he just happened to have a very, from what I haven't met him in person yet, but from what they describe, a very strong wife. And the wife basically said, don't disgrace our family. Don't take the deal. Like, I'll take care of the kids. So he had a strong wife, a strong family, which is why families are so important. If the men have a strong wife and a strong family, they can go fight, anything for the country, like Mark did. Because he was brave enough to say, like, bring it on, then that's how he didn't take the deal. And then not only was he acquitted, then he has the grounds to sue them back, and he won. So
we need more patriots like that, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then Planned Parenthood, they closed down the flagship in Manhattan, like the original one. They closed a big one in Houston. A lot of Planned Parenthoods have been closing. So I'm just praying for the New Haven one to close, because it's one of the older ones too. So, because abortion started here in this part of the country. It started in New York and Rhode Island, and eventually Connecticut.
Well, yeah, because this part of the country was kind of built first. In Connecticut was one of the states that is the oldest and was the newest at the time. Everyone was coming here, and this used to, like Jaden said, was a really great state from what I've heard. And I also have learned a little bit because I was working as a guide mostly in New York City. So everything is based on immigration here, and everything that you read and how the country has started, and what has happened to New York and then Connecticut is in the history. So I would love to see the change, to be perfectly honest with you, because I need this not only for myself, and this is why I'm sitting here and doing all of this, but I need this for everyone else who is struggling, basically.
Well, what we really need is morality. That's what we need. It's very simple. Is we need to make this state, of course, the whole nation, moral again. It's very simple. Yeah.
If you go to the website, they have like a resource tab, and they have a legal tab. So if you go to the legal tab, they have a lot of resources. The lawyers put out a lot of research and for us. So the latest one that they put out is they made a list of all the scumbags, they call them. So something that's happening with abortion pills is that douchebag men are putting abortion pills into women's drinks to make them abort. Is that
so these are the ones that I got from my doctor.
Oh, so yeah, they're you can get them very easily.
I still have them, but they were given to me because I actually was pregnant, and what happened was the pregnancy did not develop, and the doctor basically told me that there's just no way. It's just not gonna work at this point. And he was like, well, you're gonna have to pass it somehow, and so it was like, I can give you these pills and you can take them, and that it will just happen right away. And I was just so taken by it, and that was in 2021. I still have these pills, I was looking for them today. I was like, I wonder if they're still there. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, what about the doctor is not right? And I mean, I thought about it, that the chances that he was right were probably pretty big, because obviously, doctors are advanced and they do have a lot of ways to say what's happening with the pregnancy. And he was like, well, if you're not going to take it, then your body is just going to miscarry on its own. And I took them, and I filled the prescription, and then I started reading about them, because I'm that kind of a person that before I do something, I put anything in my body, take any kind of pills, vaccinations, whatever, yada yada. I go and dig about it and I read about it, So these are actually not so good for you. So there's
bad reputation, because I think 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 4 have really bad reaction to them, and they end up in the ER. Yeah, so
yeah,
they say, like, from what I heard from 40 Days for Life is that, there's both abortions are evil, but like you're more of it's a worse experience with the pills than actually with surgical abortion. So
yeah.
it's just that.
What happened to me, I started bleeding like really bad, and I did not take the pills, it just happened
An
on
accident.
its own. Yeah, and so I had to actually go to ER. So I did really have a very bad experience with this, because it was going down bad, and I was losing blood so much I was going to faint. And so I decided to go, and obviously, they helped me and stuff, and I was fine. I just spent about a day. But I was like, you just throwing these pills at people like this, oh, just take them, you're gonna be fine, and yada yada. And then I have the name obviously here, and how you're supposed to take them and all this. And like I said, I started reading about them, and I'm like, well, if it's going to happen on its own, like, why do I gotta actually take those pills,
And,
So
and I
I
want to say, think of the liberal establishment, how they're programming people's minds to just take those pills willy-nilly,
Yeah,
right?
Or
And
stock
that's
them, buy them and stock them in case you need them later. Yeah.
right. It's crazy. I think that's the worst part of it, is that the politicians, the people in charge, the ones that have the big voice of the people right now, they want every person that just has, a relationship to take an abortion pill and just have that taken, without any batting an eye, right? Now, your case is very rare, most likely, because I've never
yeah,
heard that before. But
yeah.
but those pills, those should be illegal to a degree. We should not have that even an option for somebody. And of course, having this be so accessible through telehealth, but you, of course, getting it from the doctor saying this is your solution here, that's just a sign of the times of what's happening with, abortion pills.
So what I heard about the pill, so a lot of people get it confused with a Plan B, like the day morning after pill.
Yeah, those are not Plan B. Those are the ones that
That's a
make you
heavy duty one.
scared. Yeah,
And
those are the serious ones.
they say that that's the heavy duty ones, and
Yeah,
that you're supposed to take the second one, mifepristol, the second one, like 48
yeah,
hours
that's what I have right
Sometimes
here. It says
I heard from other
14.
practitioners that they were telling women at other Planned Parenthoods in other states, like they don't they were telling them, don't wait 48 hours, take it tomorrow. So
Yeah,
they make you take the first one right there if you pick it up at Planned Parenthood, and then they sometimes they encourage them because they don't want you to change your mind. So if you take the first one, you can still save the baby if you change your mind. And it's the sooner you change your mind, you need to contact that number that I showed, the abortion pill reversal number, and they'll put you in contact with a doctor in whatever state you are. It's a network of doctors, pro-life doctors, and they'll prescribe progesterone and will reverse the effect of the first pill. But the longer it has like a 66% chance of success. And so the sooner you take it after you took the first one, the more of a chance the baby will be saved. So a lot of babies have been saved that way too, just because we're praying out there, and just they have a change of heart or something, and the volunteer is able to provide that information, and they're like, oh, I didn't even know that was an option.
And
So
talking about how accessible it is, I just pulled up the website to my local Willimantic Planned Parenthood, and this is what it says about this health center. prescriptions available, insurance not required, walk-ins welcome, walk in to get emergency contraception. And then it also, they say quick appointments just as a factor. It literally says quick appointments. You can't see it on the phone right there, but that's what they're promoting, is just to get it done fast and no questions asked. That is insane. That's what they're trying to do, and just promote it as a one quick fix, and you'll never have to worry about it again. But what's so wrong about it is they're murdering the child and just saying, don't worry about it. Hey, you know, it's nothing that you can think about any longer. It just happened in one day, a couple hours, whatever. And now the woman has to deal with that for the rest of her life, thinking, wow, what could have been my child? You know, it's a very evil thing of what the Planned Parenthoods are doing right now. And they're destroying the mental health of mothers too, because they first get in the mind of them and they say, just get an abortion real quick. They try to push it real fast. They get the abortion. And then later on, a few months, maybe a year later, they're thinking, wow, you know, I really did something wrong. And they have to deal with that for the rest of their life. And so those things that they're doing to people, not only are they killing a baby, but they're destroying the mind of somebody in the future, just out of regret for what, you know, they were forced into. It's a forceful thing they're doing. They're not just giving everybody an option. They're just saying, get it quick, get it quick. And that's a form of peer pressure right there.
So with Planned Parenthood, volunteers are not expected to like talk to the patients. Like if people, sometimes volunteers like, I don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to pray. So when volunteers can just go and pray. Now 40 Days for Life offers also sidewalk outreach for people who want to be like advocates and see if they can talk to the women, offer her resources. There's a online course you can take for like $29. They'll give you like 7 modules on how to like best, you know, it's not, they have experience on this, so they tell you what worked best over time. And when if for those volunteers who have that type of personality, they're comfortable, they're vocal, they're not afraid to talk to the women who go in or come out. When you talk to the women who come out from an abortion, it's so important to offer them healing, because a statistic that I've heard that I always remember is that a lot of the most women don't get counseling for abortion, like post-abortion. In fact, they don't even teach it in school. Like from what I heard, this other organization called the name will come to me, not Sidewalk Advocates for Life. The name I just blanked, but what is they do healing in a more secular way, because right now the organizations that offer healing are Christian or Catholic. So this other organization, what happened is that she was doing her master's in psychology, and she said when you go through school, you learn about, you know, domestic violence, you learn about all these social issues, right? Alcoholism, and you go through school learning how to deal with those, but they don't teach them how to deal with abortion. So when you go into your practice and you're dealing with all these women they have chronic depression, they don't know, they have to learn on their own how to do it. So she started this organization in this some southern state, and she said it's only really older white women who get counseling. So most women don't get counseling in their 20s or 30s or 40s for abortion. So they go throughout their life with chronic depression. And the ones who end up getting counseling, it's very few of them. And so this other organization, Support After Abortion, that's the name. Support After Abortion, what they said is the mission for that organization is to give counseling for women after the first abortion, because they say sometimes women will have repeat abortions, 3, 4, 5 abortions. So the strategy for that other organization is if you give them counseling after the first abortion, you might be saving babies because they won't repeat abortion for the second, third, fourth, fifth. So you might have saved potentially, for babies, just because you gave counseling to the woman after the first one. So
Mhm.
so it's always, so that's what I say, 40 days for life is so good, because you don't know, this is too much, right? It's too much for one person to know this much. But when you become a volunteer, they they ask me questions just like we're doing right now. I've had these conversations hundreds of times. Like, I just repeat having this conversation with volunteers over and over, and the word gets out. And so if a volunteer wants to know about healing, I know the organizations that focus on healing. If women want to support financially, like pregnancy centers, they offer baby clothes, diapers, rent assistance. If there's pro-life is a big umbrella. So 40 Days for Life, I would say, it's a beautiful organization. You learn about all of them because we're right there on the front lines. We're like the front. My volunteers, I call them prayer warriors. I really see them as, it's a spiritual battle, and I see them as warriors, the good kind. And so they just, yeah, they're beautiful. They're beautiful people, and they're the best of us. And um you were there, to be like Jesus, learn from him. So yeah, it's you learn, and it gets better with time. So it can be scary the first time. I would tell volunteers, don't worry about it. Like, so everything's on the website. Where do I park? Where's the bathroom? Everything's on the website. If you still have questions, I'm super approachable, so people can call me, and I can talk them through it. If they're still worried, I can go and pray with them, walk them, baby steps. So it just,
Well, if
1
I'm
hour.
ever coming to one of your events, I am thinking right now that I am just going to be walking up to these women, and I'll be like right then and there in their face, like, "What are you doing?
So
What are
yeah,
you doing?
I think you
Stop!"
have the personality to do like a Friday. It. That's a personality thing. So there's people that you could take it. There's people that it's too much for them. They're like, it
I
breaks your
know,
heart.
no, I'll be first one in a row,
So
girl. You're like, what are you
come,
doing? You can do this. Like, what is going on with you? There's people that can't have kids, and this is what you're gonna be doing. Think about the future. What about if you in the future you're gonna want to have a family, and then this actually procedure you're gonna do is gonna shed a light for your future, and maybe you can't ever have kids again. Like, you never know how things are gonna turn. Like, what are you doing? And besides, like, you're having sex, you don't know what the condom is. Like, what is wrong with you people?
so
Oh
for
my
that,
gosh,
I would
I'll be
definitely,
going on and on and on and on
I
a
would,
whole 12 hours.
I would definitely encourage you to do the sidewalk outreach class or the sidewalk advocates class, because they
Yeah.
walk you step by step. And in reality, you only have 5 seconds to talk to them. So they
No,
drive.
yeah, I get it
They
because
come
they
in with a
want
car, and it's like, what can you tell them in one sentence that will change their mind?
I
So
will tell her right then and there, listen, I'll take care of you, carry the baby, I'll take your baby.
see
And
that,
then I will just, what happens?
like, so sometimes you only have time to tell them that we're here for you.
Yeah.
There's resources. Can I give you like, and that's all, like it's a split second. And sometimes it's so, especially Fridays, a lot of people go here in New Haven because it's a big one, and they do both
Yeah.
kinds of abortions. Sometimes, volunteers, there's like different organizations, and you can get chatty, and it breaks your heart when you like, oh man, like I was talking and then I missed the car. Like, because the focus should be the women. So with Sidewalk Advocates for Life, for example, they focus on having a trained sidewalk. And by trained, I mean like they took like, they know the basics. Like, you don't need a degree to do this. You just, learn the basics and then go and do it. And then the person who's you're on duty, so you should be not on your phone, on focus, paying attention, watching your surroundings. And then you never by yourself, so you always need a prayer partner. Because I was there one time, for example, here in New Haven. They got a new manager. It was like 3 years ago or something. He called the cops, and he told the cops that the sidewalk counselor for Sidewalk Advocates for Life was trespassing. Uh, and
Wow.
like, and so and it was not true, because when you're trained, you they tell you what to do, what not to do, find
Yeah,
out.
I mean, you
And
cannot be trespassed from the
and
public
so
property, which is the sidewalk.
that's something that woke me up, because it's sometimes not even something that you will do wrong. Sometimes they do lie. They're, they kill babies. Of course, they're not afraid of lying to get their way. So they nothing happened because she had a prayer partner. So it was just they just like to, but you don't want to give them an inch. So you want to be the peaceful person, the the one that follows the rules, the laws. So definitely reach out. I can give you the contact for the sidewalk out advocates leader if you're interested in that. So that's like another a more advanced level of sidewalk advocacy, because you're doing more than praying. You're actually and you're closer to you. Sometimes when the people pray, especially New Haven, they don't even see the people coming in and out, because they're more on Whitney Avenue. So but the people who are the closer you get to the driver, the entry driveway, the more evil, like weird things happen by the driveway. So you're entering spiritual grounds. So you need to be. I always say that's why we praying and fasting is part of 40 Days for Life, because you don't go to war not without a gun. You have to go. So you need to go into the spiritual battle prepared. Spiritually, you need to go be spiritually strong, uh, and they because it's weird. Weird things happened, and not to scare anybody, but just respect the work, the advocacy, the apostolate that the volunteers there do. So the people who try to advocate closer on the driveway, you do see women coming out almost fainting. You see it's sad. It's so sad. And but you're always there to try to help them. So it's always good when you're like a more like a sidewalk advocate or sidewalk outreach with 40 Days for Life. You go in there, you're on duty, so you like know in case somebody needs to talk to you, you know what number to call, you know where to refer them to. uh you help them. You can, it's never happened but to me, but even help them call the hotline number for them. So, and anything that you can do, so just to help them when they're coming in and out. And so sidewalk advocates for life, for example, they do little goodie bags. So yellow, for example, it's color coded. So yellow is if they had an abortion. So if they came out and they had an abortion, if you get them to roll the window, they give them a little bag with, we know they had a bad day, and so here are some healing brochures, for call them. Here's lotion. Here's anything. You just had a bad experience. Here's something. If there's also bags for men. Like sometimes people forget about men, so sometimes they drive their girlfriends in, and then they're crying because their girlfriend, there's not a pretty situation. So there's give them a little bag with resources for healing for men, counseling for men. There's sometimes a pink bag for women who don't go to have an abortion. They go for another procedure, but to teach them about contraception or, things like that. And then there's green bag for Spanish speakers. So, because a lot of Spanish speakers, they get duped into these places thinking that this is like a healthcare thing. And I've heard horror stories about, a woman that only spoke Spanish and she thought she was she was pregnant. She wanted her first OBGYN checkup. This was not in New Haven, but I heard a story that it happened somewhere.
Wow.
And then they wanted to trick her into having an abortion, and she's like, no, I just want I'm pregnant. I want to see how the baby's doing. Like, no, because and this I've heard stories too, like in the border, like how they were pushing abortion on immigrant women because you're vulnerable.
Pure
It's not your
evil.
language. So yeah, it's
Evil.
not. So what I tell women too, sometimes, even if like sometimes they say like, when I've done sidewalk outreach, like, oh, I'm not here for an abortion, I always tell them right away, like, well, like, don't give them your money. Go find another federally accredited health institution and give your business to another place. Don't give your business to this place. There's other people that other clinics, that can help you. You don't have to come to this one. So,
And you know what's the saddest part about it? That you can just walk in and the government will pay for it.
yeah, Husky pays for it.
But going and trying to have a child, actually, government really does not want to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So one time I did have a state insurance when I lost my job, and I had no any other way to get insurance. So I signed up for the state insurance, right? And then, so in the meantime, I had my OBGYN checkup and stuff like that. And, I was already approaching the age when my doctor is like, hello, what are you doing? Like, why are you not having kids? Do you not have a partner? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just not happening. And then he was like, well, if you're trying for more than 6 months, he goes like, when you talk about it. I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. So then, he referred me to an IVF clinic, and he referred me to a really good doctor. It's basically here around the corner for me. And then he was like, but hold on a second. He goes like, what kind of insurance do you have? And I was like, I have a Husky. And he goes like, oh, no. Then they're not going to cover this. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, they're going to cover an abortion, but they're not going to cover my IVF procedures? Like, what are we doing here? So obviously I got another job. So I was only on this insurance for like a couple of months or whatever. And I have never really used it for anything. But then to actually go through the IVF procedures, I was paying freaking crazy money for the insurance that I purchased just to be able to cover some of this stuff. And I was kind of shocked because I feel like those procedures should be covered by the state if you happen to be on the state insurance, because you're covering getting rid of the baby, but you're not going to cover getting the baby to this life. Like, how is that fair? I consider this to be like unfair. Okay. And then I think
I want to mention, sorry to interrupt, but just the fact that the state goes ahead and funds abortion is completely just disgusting, because if they are going to fund anything, they should fund for, somebody giving birth, right? Because that's bringing new life. And at the same time, they can actually have a justification saying it's going to be a new taxpayer, right? So it's
exactly.
So but that's
more American
the problem.
Citizens too.
Yeah, it is, and I am extremely upset with the fact, guys, that a lot of insurances plans don't offer the IVF treatment, and I find that extremely disappointing. Because not only the insurance that I have used for all the procedures that I had was charged for $70,000, 70. You heard me, $70,000, and I actually had to purchase a special type of insurance that I had to make sure that I tell them at the marketplace when you go and you purchase an insurance. Because at the time I worked for myself, so I didn't really have any other option. And if I wanted to go and do this, I don't have $70,000 to spend, guys. Like, I would have to sell the house to be able to come up with that kind of money quick, right? And so some of the things I did cover, because some of the things were still not covered by the insurance, like some of the medications that I was taking. Like deductible, that was still $5,000, the testing, genetic testings that I've done, that was also not covered. That was another $5,000. So on top of the money that the insurance got covered, I still covered a lot. And the premiums, where the premiums were $750 a month. Now I already dropped that insurance, but after Trump got in, it was gonna go to, I think, 830, because when they sent me a letter if I wanted to renew, and I was like, I can't do this. So on top of $830 a month, and I still have to pay you $5,000. And on top of that, this was only gonna take care of my medications and other stuff, because I exhausted the benefit. I could only do it twice, 2 transfers under the insurance, and I had only one egg retrieval, because luckily I still had a lot of eggs, and a lot of them got fertilized, and I have some frozen, and then I kept using them. But just to do one transfer, it cost you $5,000 to just shoot the egg in you. That's it. That's a procedure that is like literally 7 minutes that the doctor does, But obviously, you have to have somewhat few, 6, 7 times probably the blood work. And then the procedure itself is just a little thing. They don't even put you under, nothing. It's just a bloop, and that's it, And I'm like, how much? Like $5,000 for 5 minutes of your time? I'm like, this is freaking crazy. And then, so this is how I am touching on this topic here, because like I said, people go out there and just killing babies. And I have had this episode with No Kings protest here in New Britain, where I live. And we were flag waving on the others. Yeah, in New Britain. So not too long time ago, I don't know, like it was 2 months ago or something. We flag waved against the No Kings protest that was here in New Britain. Yeah, we decided to come to New Britain because we wanted to help a couple other representatives. So we decided to come here, but there was actually, the biggest one was in Hartford, but there was a decent amount of people here in New Britain. And so we were on the other side of the street, and I actually literally walked in to that protest of all these people telling them that they're killing babies. And this one woman looked at me and she was like, "What are you talking about? I don't kill babies. I have 2 kids." And then I was like, "Yeah, do you do abortions? Your party is for abortions," I said. "And did you know?" And that I've learned because of all the process that I went through. I've learned this, and I've read so many things. But even if you don't think that life starts at conception, because some people don't think that, the heartbeat shows up at 6 weeks. So if it has a heartbeat, it's already living. So anyway, how you want to look at it, when you're getting an abortion, when it's like, let's say 3 months, I don't know how many weeks this is, you definitely killing a living life.
Yeah, I would recommend the podcast of 40 Days for Life, because it's a great resource, and they touch on all these subjects. Like, so they'll spend like 2 hours on each. They'll research it and talk it, and then they bring the experts, right? Because they have the doctor, the lawyers, and so depending what each topic requires, they'll bring the expertise. I remember they did one on that, and basically, it's they explained it at some point that they tried to convince everybody that the baby started at implantation. So not conception, but implantation. So it's a slippery slope, and the baby that has the DNA at conception. So that's not a belief system, but a embryonic thing.
It does have a DNA whenever it's already, like, how do you call it, when they put it together, right? For me, so they put my egg with the sperm.
You do bring a good point in that and it's something. So even within the pro-lifers, it's good for people to know that there's we don't always agree on everything, but for the most part, we don't like for sure, like you're saying, abortion of the babies. And so here, when you get more into the more moderate, I guess we would say, they would be more comfortable. Because I've heard, well, up to 15 weeks or things like that. What if she's like all these justifications? What if she's like raped or what? So because there's all these slippery slopes at the end of the day, uh, if we have to
I would
recognize the
say,
humanity
I would
of.
say if something is breathing already, correct? So when it's breathing, it has a heartbeat most of the time, and you just squish it, you killed it.
So
So
I recommend for that reason for everybody to watch the movie Unplanned, because
yeah, right.
I would say Abby Johnson was like that, and when she was working there, she thought she was helping women in crisis by offering them abortion. So I think unless you're the one dealing with putting the baby parts together, and and then you think it's and that's another thing, like she was putting these baby parts together and she didn't have a problem with it because she normalized it. She said it's not a baby yet, it's just like a small whatever. And she was able to do, in the movie they talk about, she was able to do that job for 8 years, and it wasn't until she saw the sonogram, because I think it's different when you see the baby alive in the utero than even I mean, it's, I don't know how she didn't see the baby as she was putting the arms and the feet. But this is why this is a spiritual battle, because it's almost like when everybody knows the story of like the Moses, and like he was showing the Pharaoh, if people don't see the read the Bible, that a lot of people saw the Disney movie. So when Moses is doing all these miracles to convince the Pharaoh to let his people go, and he was doing miracles, like he was changing water into blood and all these, and so he was doing literally miracles, and he didn't change the Pharaoh's mind. So sometimes what I like to remind volunteers is that you could give somebody who's convinced the best argument, that with the scientific thing and this, and Charlie Kirk was really good at that. He was really good and a good tabler and debater, and really good at delivering it quick and fast for people to. But if, like Abby Johnson, sometimes like they have scales in their eyes, and I think as a message I would like to say to the pro-lifers is just we have to learn to let people, pray for that. Well, that's a pray so that they're like, they will see the truth eventually. And so it's a process, is like you said, like math. Sometimes you don't get it, it takes you time to understand how to do the math problem, and some people get it quicker, some people get it later. So we just have to be patient with everybody and offer education and resources and healing. And so that's what I would say. It's the baby is a human from conception.
Yes,
It's
absolutely. I agree with you. But when you're talking to
the
Democrats,
personhood, yeah,
usually that they don't want to see it that way.
exactly.
So
So
when
that's why
I
we
came
pray.
up, yeah, I came up with the idea asking them, do you know when the heartbeat shows up? Because
Yeah.
the heartbeat shows up at 6 weeks. And this is when you just literally finding out about that you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's fairly quick, And so, yes, for
So
that
that's just like the
reason,
convention, the Right to Life
yeah,
people.
yeah,
Shout out
yeah.
to the Right to Life supporters.
So
So
for
yeah,
that reason, I believe if you tell someone that, do you understand that you are killing a human being, a living soul that already has a heartbeat? And,
but
going
yes.
towards the protest I was talking about, this lady just looked at me like, and like she had no idea, because they tell them, oh, it's a fetus, oh, it's not that, it's not this, it's not really living, and yada yada yada. And then like, listen, you have to go back to the biology class, I guess, and learn these things again, because by you just
Baby
considering this,
modification.
yeah, exactly, you're
I agree
doing
with that.
something. You're killing. You don't understand that you're killing babies. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, it's really that easy to understand. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at this point, like I said, this is extremely upsetting, because for me is hard because I do have a PCOS, so that prevents me from getting pregnant and stuff. So now I have to be on millions types of hormones and yada yada yada. And now I just dropped the insurance, so I cannot continue until I come up either with cash or another insurance.
Yeah,
So
a
this
lot
is
of women.
yeah, for that reason I gotten another job at the warehouse where I made sure before I got that job, and one of my first questions at the interview was, what kind of insurance do you have? Does it cover IVF? And actually this company is kind of like a union type of company where they cover all of this. So at 44, the doctor told me they're going to cut me off and I cannot go anymore. And so I am turning 43 in December. So by December, I had to make sure I have this insurance, and then I'll have a whole another year of trying and see. We'll see what happens. Like, I don't plan on giving up on that, but just the money issue and how much everything costs if you wanted to pay out of pocket is absolutely insane. Insane. And then when I found out Husky does not cover this, I was livid. I was like, what are you talking about? You don't cover making babies. Like, you cover killing babies, but you don't cover making babies, just because that procedure is going to be actually a lot more, because obviously there's more involved. You have to have a lot more tests done. You have to have actually the egg retrieval and that. I'm not asking them to genetically test my eggs, embryos, which that I did on my own, because first, I'm old. I wanted to determine if the embryos were healthy, because I don't want to risk, to have a baby with a Down syndrome. And there's like a lot of things that can come up with these genetic testings. And I had some embryos that were perfectly fine and happy and ready to go, and I'm like, and now I'm limited with the money issue. Like, what the hell? Like, we have to change this somehow, some way. This like whole system is so crooked that they promote this bad thing, but they don't promote, like we already said, the family unit. Like, this is what we need. Like, this science is available to us, but it's only available to rich people, or you have to pay so much money for the insurance, or you have to make yourself go work somewhere you don't like to actually get the benefits and get a good insurance, because the place where I work now have thousands of employees everywhere in the whole United States. And so they are able to get a good deal on the insurance, which I'm not. And if I choose to be an entrepreneur, like Jaden, for example, said, then I am being punished, because I could never get the same type of coverage than these big companies that obviously they're bigger market because they're paying so much money into the companies. But why I can't get a deal if I'm just the only person and trying to get a decent coverage? Like, this is insane. Like, this system is freaking insane. Like, it should not be like this, guys. Like, I hate it here. Like, I never knew coming to this country that this is going to look like this. That the country does not really offer much for the family. The country does not cover your daycare for your kids. That's what my country does. My country gives you 3 years for you to stay at home as a mom, and the country pays you to, maybe it's not like your $4,000 or $5,000 a month that you're making, but they will give you a decent money to survive as a mom, to stay 3 years with your baby. And then on top of that, the country also gives you $800 per child every single month. So if you have 2 kids, you're getting 16. If you have 3 kids, you're getting $2,400 every single month, no matter what. It used to was $500, now is $800, and those things are possible. And yes, I get it. That's the topic that could be probably manipulated, because you're going to have some scumbags making babies, and you're going to have 1,000 babies, yada, yada, yada. But when I go to Poland and talk to my people, they tell me that this money really helps them in the day-to-day living. It helps them give the kids clothes. It helps them pay for their extra whatever sports, and helps them take the kids on a vacation, for example, because maybe some of the people would just not even be able to provide those vacations to kids. And as far as I remember, one of my friends told me if you were a farmer, they were giving you a special type of like credit cards with some money. So because farmers, they never sleep, they don't have vacations or anything like that. They don't really work for companies. So they always screwed, on all the benefits and stuff like that. So if you had kids and you were a farmer, the government was giving you some money to literally take your family on a week vacation. And I'm just like, where the fuck am I? Like, what is going on here? This country is so freaking rich. People have so much money here, and the government is literally overtaxing us, and they cannot just literally give us
Can I mention a point? Yeah, just a point that you made is family incentives, right? I think that's a big issue that, a lot of other countries are doing, but America does not. In fact, they do the opposite, and they fund abortions and they fund ways to destroy families. So I would want to just officially say that I would advocate for family incentives as a long-term play. Now, the amount that we would probably aim for is just enough to be able to cover normal expenses to having a newborn baby. So that's the first one that would probably be the best to target for. And then if we continue on that path, if we get rid of the bad incentives that are destroying families, we'll use that same exact amount of money that they use to fund abortions and telehealth for abortions and transfer that for family incentives. So we'll flip it on its head. I agree.
Yes, but I wish there was more. They would, here in Connecticut, they have those short legislative sessions. So if they could stop wasting time with these other non pro-family, and focus on supporting Connecticut families, that would be nice. Like,
what's interesting is in those short legislative sessions that we had this year in 2026, they were not only able to do all this controversial legislation that they wanted to get passed, but they also increased the budget by 9%, all between this short legislative session. So they have the time, they have the resources, they have the effort. They can make a difference happen, but it takes the right person.
It takes the right focus.
I would love for our representatives and candidates to look into what we can change to help newest families. What kind of programs can we really introduce? And even the programs that will help you to buy a house. What can we do in Connecticut to open up the zoning and start freaking building, bring some kind of freaking construction into this stupid state? Like, what is going on? Like, the zoning here is like crooked, literally, and no one is building. And I'm just like, why? You're only building those small condos that are going to be owned by some kind of a rich people that are probably don't even live in this country. Okay, but you're not building for your average family, your 1,500, 2,000 square feet house that everyone wants to own in America, because that's what the American dream is, the house that people spend on a dog.
And having the housing increase within the area is incentivizing families. It's something that somebody can be able to live in and grow with. So all this goes back to the quality of life, right? If we're United States citizens celebrating America on its 250th anniversary, we need to go ahead and go back to the right morality, right? Having a family unit, as we mentioned earlier, incentivizing the families, having better housing, just everything in between that it costs, it needs to go back to the way it was. That's what we have to do.
I've heard about, like, well, you don't have to pay your, what if you not pay your taxes when you're pregnant, or meaning like you get a tax break, or like
incentives. Tax breaks, like, give me a freaking, like, listen, I'm gonna receive this money next year. I'm gonna have a baby today. Like Trump came up with, no
Well,
tax on overtime and no tax on tips, or get the tax back, I guess. And I'm like, dude, like I want this money now. Like I don't want it next year after I just worked this whole entire year. And now you have had this money for whole entire year. Now you're giving it back to me, and then you brought it to the states, and our state does not give a fuck about it. Like, what are we doing here? We need to do better. We need to do better for our people. And I understand maybe I have a different mentality because I come from a completely different country, and the country was communist for a very long time. But the fact that they provide a lot of stuff which I never really saw that way until now, because I have tried to start my family, and I have tried to figure it out what I'm going to do when I'm going to have a small kid with me. I don't have any family here. I cannot count on grandparents, babysitting the child and whatnot. So I'm just like speechless. Your regular daycare is $300-400 a week, and those are all private daycares, and the ones that are being sponsored by the government, you can only get in there if you're like the lowest income or you do not work at all. So you tell me now, if you have a kid and you don't work at all, you got to send your child to the daycare. Like, what are we doing here? I need this country to do better, and especially Connecticut, because what important it is for people to not be depressed, not to try to commit suicides, and be overall a happier type of an individual. At first, it ties to the money. If you can't make money and live a decent life, you are always going to be depressed. And then, if we cannot live a decent life, we have the people going to New Haven and getting abortions. Like, if they don't see an opportunity for them to be able to sustain a living with a child, because the daycare is freaking $1,200 and you're making 20 an hour, where your pay is 2,400 at this point a month. I'm like, what? There's something messed up here.
yeah,
And how are you
the math doesn't do. Yeah.
child?
So that's why we say this is a spiritual battle, and God, we need to bring goodness and hard working people, because and community, because if everybody's pulling their way, then you don't care about your neighbor, because if you don't care about your neighbor, you care more about the.
Well, absolutely. But I also think a lot of these abortions would have been stopped if people had a better way of living. Meaning, right now, your average rent is $1,500-1,600, where before COVID, it was like $800-900. Okay.
Yeah, so like a
That was
society failed that woman. There was many things that should have gone right for that woman.
exactly.
The boyfriend should have stepped up, or maybe they both should have had better jobs. So there's many things that went wrong for the woman to feel like that was the best choice for her. Like
Yes.
many different aspects of society failed that woman or that couple. So maybe the church pastor didn't speak on this issue, so they don't think it's a big deal. So morally, economically, the different sectors of society fail them at the same time. So so that's why there's a few of us, but that's why just with a few people you can, like you said, do a lot. Sometimes we think we need a lot of people, a lot of money. You just need good Americans, Christians.
It takes the one to speak up. That's all it is.
Yeah. So and I would like to say this prayer for you both. And I love this. I would love to get invited again. If you guys come on again, invite me, or I'll post questions on the chats. I hope this helps other people in Connecticut, and yeah, like, and for sure follow you and your campaign and support it. And Agnes, I think you're doing a great service and uh, being like speaking the truth to maybe people don't feel comfortable talking, and you're and other women, I hope other women hearing what you're going through, that they will feel like, okay, it's not just me. And you know, resources will come up because you're speaking up, and other women and other doctors and resources will come. And if you guys don't mind, I would like to say this prayer.
Absolutely.
So, Lord, we ask the strength, courage, wisdom, determination, and stamina to carry out our mission according to your will. Guide us, we pray. We go forth and proclaim your truth, always doing so with the spirit of love and compassion as demonstrated to us through the work of your Son, Jesus Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I
Awesome.
appreciate that. It was a great conversation. I really love for you guys that you came on here, and we seem like we are very like-minded. And who knew about Jaden? Who knew that he's gonna decide to sign up for this?
We knew that there was a
Yeah,
pro-life
we're
public
fighting.
in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So Jaden, I want you to come back because you never told me you have a channel. And so,
it's gonna be a big year. We're gonna have a lot of content.
We're
Yeah, maybe we
definitely
should do a follow-up later.
yeah, absolutely. We're still gotta make sure that we push you out there. So let's do another stream and just talk strictly about the issues, your district, and stuff like that. And then also when you're logging in to my stream, you can stream this at the same time to your YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know if
saw
you
that.
know. Yeah. So that
your
could be
audience.
also put on your channel.
Definitely.
And and that that will give us a chance to even reach more people at this point. And Mariana, whenever you're doing anything in the future on Saturday, then you let me know, because then I probably will be able to come out and hang out for a little bit and maybe do just a little bit of a short video, and show how everything looks like. Think people would be interested, to see how actually praying in a vigil in front of
like.
Parenthood looks like. I'm not saying I'm going to hang out for 12 hours because that would be way too much to try to entertain the camera for that long. But at least like half an hour to 45 minutes, maybe, I can show up and join you guys, and this way here we can maybe get involved more people, because I'm all about here trying to help the cause, distribute the good morals, the values. Me personally, I'm doing this because I'm looking for a change. And whenever I'm looking for a change and I don't like my situation, I get right in there and I do everything that is possible to change the situation. I'm not saying I'm going to run for anything, but I can help the candidates to get out there, on social media. And then, of course, I have your link, Jaden, so I will donate to you. Absolutely. And then, maybe sometime in the future, we can maybe possibly do some flag waves somewhere around your area, so we can meet these freaking awesome Republican people again.
Right.
And
I want to say I'm so glad that now I know about 40 Days for Life, right? I'm going to make sure that's going to be a big emphasis pretty soon. Of course, I emailed and made sure that I signed up on the site. I already found 2 locations that recently had one in Hartford and then Providence area. So I'm going to have one in Willimantic. So look out for that. But yeah. And of course, I'm so glad to have been on this podcast episode here. And I'm always happy to be on. I think this is a great platform that preaches the truth, right? We want to get the moral rights out there. So I'm always happy to be involved in conversation.
Yeah, if you do want to do this more often, you're more than welcome. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the smartest and stuff, because I know only fractions of things that are happening in Connecticut, and you're a lot more, in between the people, and you talk to them, so you know the issues, how they feel, and stuff. Like we can always produce something and talk about it. I'm
Yeah,
down for that.
and
Bring
as
the
I
drones.
yes,
The drones.
well, especially as somebody that worked at the Capitol this year, I was right in the forefront of it all. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm ready to get in there, and I already have been in there,
that's
and we're gonna
awesome.
make a change happen. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you,
absolutely.
Agnes, for having this space. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hate to end this right now because I just started getting some good advertising there, and I see people watching live now. It's a lot of people. 643 people is watching right now.
What?
Um,
No
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Wow.
'Cause I do throw a little bit into advertising, so this is why all of a sudden my numbers are starting to jump. Because like I said, I want this to be known what we're doing here, and I want people in Connecticut to understand that the red wave is coming, and it's time. It's time, and we got this. We're fighting. We are going to try anything possible to make sure that we are going to elect another governor that is going to be a Republican, and that someone who's going to finally look into this budget, take this whole sanctuary bullshit out of here, okay, and stop funding illegals. I know, and my gut feeling is telling me that there is so much money for our budget that we can easily cover everyone's daycare.
So what I
Yeah.
say in my 40 Days for Life, when I do my little flyers here, I say I want to bring Connecticut back to a culture of life and away from a culture of death. So yes, like let's bring Connecticut back to life, pro family, pro life.
Yes.
1000%. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys coming. We'll be in touch, and hopefully we'll meet again. Take care.
Yay.
Thank you.
Good
Bye
night.
bye,
God
guys.
bless.
Very great.